You know those people who seem weirdly calm in crisis? The ones who stay collected while everyone else is spiraling? Yeah, they're not just naturally zen, they've accidentally discovered something most people spend years avoiding. They've learned that the worst thing that could happen already happened to them. And honestly, I think we've got this whole fear thing backwards. Think about it. You've probably spent more mental energy worrying about failing a test than actually studying for it. More time imagining awkward conversations than having real ones. More sleepless nights picturing worst-case scenarios than dealing with actual problems. Your brain treats imaginary disasters like they're happening right now, flooding your system with the same stress chemicals as if you're actually being chased by whatever you're worried about. But here's where it gets interesting. Some people have already been through their version of rock bottom. The business failed. The relationship imploded. They got fired, humiliated, or completely fell apart in front of people who mattered. And you know what they discovered? They survived. Not just survived, actually. They realized that the anticipation was worse than the reality. There's this psychological phenomenon called the impact bias. Basically, we're terrible at predicting how bad things will actually feel and how long those feelings will last. We imagine devastating rejection lasting forever, when in reality, most emotional pain peaks and then starts fading faster than we expect. But your brain doesn't know this until it happens. So people who've been through real failure have something the rest of us don't. They have data. They know exactly what happens on the other side of their worst fear. And spoiler alert, it's not the end of the world. It's just Tuesday. I noticed something about these people. They don't give advice about being brave. They don't talk about conquering fear. They just seem oddly unbothered by things that send everyone else into panic mode. Because fear, for them, has lost its power. It's like being afraid of a movie monster once you've seen how the special effects work. Sure, it looks scary, but you know it's just rubber and fake blood. Meanwhile, people who've never really failed are walking around carrying this invisible weight. Every decision feels massive because they haven't learned yet that most decisions are reversible. Most mistakes are survivable, and most fears are just stories your brain tells you to keep you safe from dangers that don't actually exist. Here's the weird part. Society tells us that avoiding failure is smart. Stay in the safe job. Don't take risks. Play it careful. But what if that's actually the riskiest strategy of all? What if spending your whole life afraid of falling means you never learn how to get back up? What if the people who seem the most put together are just the ones who got their falling over with early? There's this concept in psychology called post-traumatic growth. It's the idea that going through difficult experiences doesn't just teach you resilience. It actually changes how you see possibilities. People who've lost everything and rebuilt discover they're capable of things they never imagined. People who've been publicly humiliated realize that most embarrassment is just ego, and ego is optional. But here's what nobody wants to admit. Some of the most anxious, stressed out people you know are the ones who've been successful their whole lives. They've never tested their limits, never faced real consequence, never learned that they can handle more than they think. So every new challenge feels potentially catastrophic because they have no reference point for what catastrophic actually looks like. Think about the last time you were really worried about something. Now think about how it actually turned out. I'm willing to bet the reality was either not as bad as you expected, or if it was bad, you handled it better than you thought you would. But your brain doesn't update its fear settings based on this information. It just finds new things to catastrophize about. The people who seem unshakable aren't special. They're not more talented or smarter or naturally braver. They've just already answered the question that keeps everyone else up at night. What if everything goes wrong? Their answer is simple. Then I'll figure it out, because I always do. And that confidence doesn't come from thinking they're invincible. It comes from knowing they're not. It comes from having proof that they can be completely wrong, totally unprepared, absolutely humiliated, and still wake up the next day and try again. That's not optimism. That's evidence. So maybe the goal isn't to avoid failure. Maybe it's to get good at failing, to build up your tolerance for things not going as planned, to practice the skill of starting over, because the alternative is spending your entire life being managed by fears that might never even happen. Here's the thing about rock bottom. It's surprisingly solid ground, and once you know that, everything else is just elevation. The people who've been there aren't weirdly calm because they're broken or numb. They're calm because they have information the rest of us don't. They know that the thing we're all afraid of, complete failure, is survivable. And maybe that's the real superpower. Not the ability to avoid falling, but the knowledge that you can fall and get back up. Not the confidence that nothing will go wrong, but the evidence that even when everything goes wrong, you'll figure it out, because you always have. So the next time you're spiraling about what might happen, remember this: somewhere out there is someone who's already lived through your worst case scenario, and they're probably doing just fine. Maybe even better than fine, because they're not wasting energy being afraid of something they already know they can handle. Are you someone who's been through failure and found that calm, or are you still afraid of falling? Let me know, because understanding this difference might be the key to everything.